if I understand it correctly from Deant, it's saying that, Yahweh isn't necessarily just an entity. Yahweh isn't necessarily just a deity. Yahweh is also like a tribe. It's a position in the space in the sky, and from that is an energy, and from that makes a unique surface level gate, and as that is already a gate of a transit of space and time and space respectively, that space and time in itself has its own respective attributes of masculine and feminine, and those attributes of masculine and feminine are also different materializations, because masculine and feminine isn't necessarily just material like genetic DNA, even though at its tip it could be, male human, female human, and other species too, but masculine and feminine could also be like something of an energy force already, within the neutral like understanding and sharing of it in a higher octave. So like, as that creates its own micro expression, there's different other expressions other than the micro expression, because Yahweh is many different things, and it's like early, like it's early soul family, right? It's like this is like pre what would you call that, pre-paganistic, pre-pagan pre-pagan pretty much, because the like and what I mean by pagan is just like this, the early like transitions of like early consciousness in itself, of like before everything was even anthropomorphized, when like a consciousness at one time had to be self-identifying, and as it did that, like it's the whole all is one. That's a tricky concept, because like if you if you say all is one, then ultimately you're just saying God has more or less participated and not participated with how everything is like identifying as far as titles with, like, is God really all of these titles, or is there like a facet or a refraction or a shadelet that is like there's different types of contexts of like original entities, they all have their place in like, because we're trying to figure out what original consciousness is, are we not? So within like all of that, like there's like like these are like, this is like not human, it's like this is like conscious, like like origins of like material beings and before the material beings, so Yahweh is just like something of a tribe, if anything, and it's also a transit in the sky, and from that transit in the sky on a different octave, the time is more extended, the time span in itself is more extended, and as the time span in itself is more extended, there's a certain like the different cross cultures of different beings go in and out of the sanction of how it is even lower octave to higher octave in a different material creation, and how we're getting casual downloads from all of these things. We're like more or less coming to grow, how we're exchanging and being affected and influenced by all these like external, like deep external, like celestial bodies respectively, and inner celestial bodies having unique um tethering and unique synaptical reconnections to how there's a deeper part of us that doesn't identify with none of this, though. So that would be the super spirit or the super soul respectively. To get that level of energy, it's non-identifiable, or is it, or is there like, so that's the thing, it is and it isn't, and it's not that it is or it's not that it isn't. It's there's just different magnitudes and infusions and formations of what like original oversoul consciousness is respectively, and we can all like forget that and go back to it within an anomaly, because no one can really tell me that you yourself haven't had an experience where it could come on and off like just casually, but if you're on and you're turned on and you're like, because obviously they're out there, it's all casually sprinkled on YouTube, like, all these people like within like experiencing like these high levels of consciousness, But even within that experience, we can't forget that that in itself is just like, that's just a moment in time though. So it's like, how are we relating particularly with like to how the moments are passing, they're transforming. We're not like, and how they're passing and transforming, like we're all like either doing that from a fragmented approach, or we're doing that from a non-fragmented, intelligent, inclusive approach. And the intelligent, inclusive approach is having the maturity to like see what the real wisdom is, and how the real wisdom already, we're coming out of it, and how it already created a universe in itself. You know, to create a universe in itself, you would need some type of real wisdom that's like more so inclusive rather than exclusive, you know, because whatever you're excluding, that's you're ultimately excluding like that from yourself, you know, because the whole all is one, all is self, that could be kind of tricky, you know, because like simultaneously it is and it isn't, you know, and we're a micro expression of that, and supposedly like, you know, supposedly like oversoul God has control of it all, you know, despite anything. So that's the subtle fine line bridge, that's a hidden bridge of how to have faith and how to have trust, more so by just having that subtle truth and that subtle insight, and the neutral subtleties of, or the neutral subtleness, participating with those particular subtleties with an approach of like a mind body soul neutrality. Because without the mind body soul neutrality, then you really don't know what like life is at all, like at its, or you don't know what bliss is at all at its like deepest core. You're just like, you're programmed to be distracted and you're programmed to like not find the solutions for whatever, for based on God's anomaly. So we got pop watermelon. But what Yahweh really is, it's like, and then there's people like within that tribe, you know, saying I'm Yahweh. Like you meet those archetypes, like I'm the Yahweh. Like, okay, like that, what that's really pointing to, it's just a certain piece of the you know, of the different types of contexts of the admin cadmin body, you know, of the human being respectively. Because the south node and the north node, they're just like, that's a different body. It's not to say that they're not there or they are there. It's like they're a different body. It's a different subtle like nature. It's a subtle like, it's just there. It's a subtle different like form. So what Yahweh is, it's just the piece of our head, you know. It's a piece to the feminine water human body, you know. It's our crown chakra. That's what Yahweh is. Yahweh is the, like that. That's what how I'm understanding it. Yahweh is just like, you know, the coming of, excuse me, of the first house, the coming of the Aries constellation, the coming of the sun and Mars, and however they had you know, a unique infusion to make a head in itself, a crown in itself, you know. There's a fusion to make the crown chakra. There's a fusion to make the Ajna chakra with different presets, and like, you know, Jupiter being in like pretty much all of them are uniquely everywhere in a new way, in a new facet, you know. Like there's a new update, like season 5, you know. There's a like within the 9 chakras, so we have to recognize like how the 9 chakras are within like different influences. Thank you guys.